Well, yes. I mean, I do believe inflation is in the process of peaking. I believe we're going to have a period of disinflation. I mean, I'm not arguing that prices are coming back down to where they were pre-pandemic. And you have to define what inflation is. It's rate of change. It's the first derivative. I'm saying the second derivative of that change is going to be lower than it was in the last print of 9.1%. That's all I'm saying. So inflation going from 9.1 to 7 something percent, perhaps by the end of this year, is disinflation. It's not deflation. It's not falling prices. It's prices that are rising at a slower rate. That's a fact, in my opinion. That's what's going to happen. And the reason why it's going to happen is look at the growth rate of money supply. The growth rate of M2 is crashing. And the government stimulus checks have stopped arriving in the mail for the most part. You have some ancillary states, I think there's 15 states sending relatively smaller amounts of stimulus, but that doesn't counteract the fact that the Fed is going from 0% Fed funds rate to 3.25 to 3.5 by this year. Now that's a pretty significant rate of change on interest rates, no matter how you slice it, okay? 350 basis points in 1 year is a whole heck of a lot. I don't care if you're talking about Jerome Powell or Paul Volcker. And on a percentage basis, it's the fastest rate of change we've ever seen before. And on top of that, what we're supposed to be seeing, and I am not trusting this, I am distrusting it, but verifying it, is I want to see the balance sheet being reduced as to the level and pace that Jerome Powell said he was going to reduce the balance sheet. Balance sheet so far has had very little reduction. Maybe I think $45-50 billion from the high. It's supposed to be $47.5 billion per month. This was supposed to start in June. We are now in August. So there's something going on. In fact, here's what I wanted to. This is such an important point. I doubt you hear this anywhere else because Wall Street is made up of a bunch of cheerleaders. But listen to Powell's press conference. He was actually asked a question about the balance sheet. And what he said was, he gave us some gobbledygook about trade settling, but he said it's about to ramp up significantly. It's going to jump to $95 billion a month in September. And then he said this in response to a reporter's question. He said that the balance sheet will take 2 to 2.5 years before it reaches equilibrium. QT will have a duration of 2 to 2.5 years at the pace of $95 billion a month before the balance sheet reaches equilibrium. That's from his mouth. Now, I'm mistrusting and verifying. But if that's the case, if we're going to go to 3.25 to 3.5%, right now the effective Fed funds rate is I think it's 2.3 right now, effective Fed funds rate. If we're going to go from 2.3, 2.25, 2.3 to 3.25 to 3.5, plus drain almost $500 billion of money supply between now and the end of the year, that is the most hawkish central bank in history, and it exists in the context of, and we can debate this all you want, but in what we have to agree on is a very weak U.S. economy and an extremely weak global economy. Don't forget, we have Bank of England saying today that we're going to have a recession throughout all of 2023. GDP in the Eurozone is slated to contract later this year. Japan is contracting. The U.S. is contracting. China's manufacturing base is contracting. So you have a very, very weak construct and some of the most hawkish central bankers in history. If you want to fight the Fed and fight the business cycle and the liquidity cycle, you can do so and get all FOMO'd up about a bear market bounce. But for me and my investors, we are going to be patient. We're going to stay safe. We will cover shorts and go long, panic bear market sell-offs, not try to get caught up in the fear of missing out. Yes, I do expect the credit market to freeze. Now, first of all, Jamie Dimon at the start of this year said this would be the best economic growth that the United States has ever seen. That's what he said in January, okay? Then a few months later, when the market crashed by over 20%, it was an economic hurricane. Doesn't know if it's going to be a Cat 1, Cat 5, is it going to slam into the United States? He doesn't know. But the way I look at things is I see a credit crisis coming. if one does arrive, it'll be late 2022, early 2023. And it's all predicated on if the Fed prosecutes on their plan to continue to hike interest rates to fight inflation and continues, when I say continue, actually prosecutes on their plan to drain the balance sheet. Now, there's a lot of reticence here. I'm so glad Powell got asked that question about the balance sheet. And he stammered and stuttered, as he usually does, and cleared his throat a few times. But he said the trade, the way balance, the trade settled. But go and look at the actual interview and the question. I think it was about 30 minutes into the Q&A section. He said something about trade settling, and he admitted that it had a slow start. But now he says it's going to ramp up significantly and last 2 to 2.5 years at that pace of $95 billion.
Before we continue, help us clicking that YouTube like button and subscribe now to our channel. This shows the algorithm that you valued this information. And it helps us spread that message. Sharing is caring. And now, let's continue.
I have bad news for you. If you're not rich by now, you're screwed. And if you're in debt, you're even double screwed. How so, you might wonder? Well, the sad truth is that you're working your whole life to make someone else rich. The mega corporations, the banks, the politicians, everyone is getting richer. They get your money. And what is even worse, they get your time, they get your life. You are not even in a rat race, you're in a financial prison. But what could a solution for you look like? Honestly, I don't know, but I know what a solution for me would look like. It's very simple. I use whatever money I have and I multiply it with 1,000. This could make my life much easier and probably yours as well. If you have $1,000 available and multiply this with 1,000, I believe that this could solve some financial issue for the one or the other. Of course, if you're ugly, you would have to multiply it with much more than 1,000. My name is Marco Stan, and this is what I decided to do. I decided to 1000x my money. This is not a joke. I know what you may be thinking. What is this guy talking about? How should this work? This is not possible. Well, I made a detailed video where I laid out my plan. And some clever folks might even want to look at this plan and copy it and do exactly what I do. This is just a little hint on the side. You have two options. You leave, you forget what you have seen. You do whatever you're doing and you hope that somehow you get some other results. Good luck with that. Or you click the link below the video. You enter your email address because I'm not showing this to everybody. You at least watch my video on how I plan to 1000x my money. The choice is yours. Make the right choice. Join me. See what a different future you could have. See at least how I intend, how I plan to do the 1000x. So click on the link below, enter your email address, and I see you on the other side. Your Marco Stan.